All right, Johan. Johan, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Okay, so originally I'm born in Germany, and I lived there till I was 14, and then I came to the States. And Arizona is really my home in America.
Oh, really? And tell me about your family growing up.
I'm sorry?
Tell me about your family growing up.
Well, my dad wasn't there for 12 years. He's a military guy. My parents got divorced when I was around 2. He came back to the States. He was actually exited from the military because of mental illness. My mother happens to be mentally ill too. So for the 12 years he wasn't there, I grew up, especially in Germany, alcohol is a big culture. It didn't even occur to me that my mother was self-medicating. And by the time I was 12 years old, I was already drinking too. So it was pretty crazy. I didn't know anybody that didn't drink. And then he came back, and turns out he was a drinker too, and that's eventually, I think I was telling you a little bit ago, that's eventually what did it, killed him in a way. Because he was only 68 when he died, and he should still be around. So he hasn't even been dead that long. Let's say it's 23, so he's been dead for 5 years.
And you've had jobs?
I have my own business. My son now runs it out of Arizona. He still does some of the conference circuit stuff and whatever. And at one point I did run the business out here, but pretty much got out of it. And 9/11 didn't help with that because nobody was traveling. So suddenly I was pretty much out of business, which is why I got into the audience stuff out here and not so much the technology part.
And alcohol's been a constant in your life?
I don't remember really, since 12 years old, I don't remember a time I don't drink. It's pretty much a daily habit. Not working doesn't help because I have nothing else to do. So I just sit there and drink. I'm on Social Security now because I have health issues and everything else.
How old are you?
46.
46. And tell me how alcohol has affected your life.
Well, the first time I was homeless, I lived in a tent for 2.5 years, and that was because I was making really bad decisions when I was drinking. And it caused me to lose my place to live and everything else. It's caused me to lose relationships. My own brother and sister don't even talk to me, although they have issues of their own. My brother has a drug habit, and my sister says she's not a drinker like I am, but for some reason there's always a party at her house. Somebody's birthday, something this, something that. There's always an excuse. Oh, we're going bowling. Next thing you know, 10 mint juleps later, or whatever she's freaking drinking now. So
So you mentioned there was mental illness on your parents' side.
yeah,
Do you think mental illness is really what's behind all of this?
it has a big effect. I actually do see a psychiatrist, and I've been diagnosed as bipolar. And some of my drinking was originally, I think, part of the self-medicating as well, until I realized that I was becoming like my parents. They're both schizophrenic, but they were functioning. So it took a long time for me to realize what was really going on. So I do take medication, but I still drink. Some days it's more, some days it's less. This morning, the first thing I did is I opened my bottle of Jaeger because I woke up shaking, you know. Am I proud of this? No, but it's part of my life. But most people don't even realize it. I mean, just look at me. Nobody even seems to think I'm homeless. You know, I make sure I look clean and all that stuff.
Yeah, you'd never know.
And I have a service dog that I take care of, which gives me at least something to do. So, although I don't always take him with me, and when I knew we were coming down here, I definitely didn't want to bring him.
And with if alcohol wasn't in the picture, where do you think your life would be?
That's a good question. I try actually not to think about that. I'd probably still be running my own business, and I'd probably be healthier. I'd be traveling a lot more, because I did used to love that when I had my own business. The world isn't as bad as people think. There's a lot of good people out there, from what I have seen. And there's that quote I tell people all the time. It's not the full quote, but Mark Twain, travel is fatal to bigotry, prejudice, and narrow-mindedness. It's not the full quote, it goes further than that, but
Yeah,
that's
great.
what I usually tell people. Because I've met so many wonderful people. Yeah, my life would be doing that. I would still be traveling. I would still be running my own business instead of having to have my son take care of it. Um, and that's the other part. I have a son and a daughter, and they love me dearly, but there's not much of a relationship there either most of the time. Just because they didn't, thank God, didn't end up with the problems I had and my parents had. They're okay. And they live, well, what most people would consider a normal life. You know, suburban, normal house, married, all that stuff.
What are some of the lowest points of your life?
Well, being in a tent for 2.5 years, I was so busy drinking I didn't even realize that the time was passing. And then one day I woke up and I said, oh my God, I've been here for 2.5 years, I got to do something. And that's when I actually met my current spouse. And he knew what was going on. And it just so happened that his ex, who he was still living with, they found a brain tumor. And they needed a caregiver. And so my spouse suggested me, and I moved in with them. And he was paying me under the table, because my Social Security check was going to alcohol. It still does, pretty much. I mean, when I do have to pay rent and everything else, I take care of that by whatever is left. Between my bills and the dog, whatever is left is alcohol and cigarettes. And then I do whatever I can in between to make money here or there, you know, market research things and who knows what.
Have you tried to quit?
Drinking? No, not really. Smoking, yes. I've actually quit smoking for like 3 months, a little longer than that. But then out of habit, because I've been smoking for so long, one day I was buying a 12-pack of beer, and without even thinking, bought a pack of cigarettes. And I actually had a lighter in my pocket. I must have picked it up out of habit, sitting in the house without even thinking. And I walked outside the gas station and lit a cigarette, and I said to myself, oh shit. Took me until that moment to realize, you haven't smoked in 3 months, what are you doing? But when you've been doing this for 30 plus years, you know.
But what do you think keeps you from putting down the bottle and stopping?
A lot of it is, I think, just because I have nothing really productive to do in life at this point. And just habit, and it does help. And being bipolar manic, alcohol really kind of affects me in a different way. Some people it's a real downer or whatever, but I'll end up, people think I'm a crystal meth addict, and I'm not. Because I can be awake for 2-3 days straight and drink. Especially because I don't down, and I will stop and eat in between and things like that. You know, I maybe even have water or something, but then I go right back to my beer or Jägermeister or whatever the heck I picked up that day. Because I'm not even picky about that. Whatever I have the money for at that point in time. Pretty much.
What is the motivation, you think? Do you want to escape something from your past?
Well, there was, you know, besides the fact that it started out, I think, as a self-medicating. From the age of 5 till about 9, I was molested. And I actually hit puberty pretty early. So from 9 to, because this kept going till I was 14, technically. But I only say I was molested from 5 to 9, because from that point in life, up until age 9, he was still able to say, don't say anything because no one's going to believe you. By age 9, I was going to him and saying, don't say anything because no one's going to believe you. I actually started using him because I had hit puberty.
And you
I think part of it, well, yeah, when I first came out as gay, I wasn't even sure if I was doing it because I thought I was going to be gay anyway in my life, or because I was molested, and because I wasn't about to do something that happened to me. Besides, I don't find little boys attractive. Usually whoever I date is older than me. My husband right now, I'm 46, my husband, he's 62. And we've been together for like 8 years and legally married. We'll be legally married for 4 years in June 5th. So, and it does help when he's around, but he's not even staying where I'm staying right now. Because he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke. Oh, the man has a half a can of Michelob Ultra and he's drunk. It's really funny. Meanwhile, I was sitting there drinking 211 after 211 after 211, and people look at me like, haven't you had 6 or 8 of those already? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the store to get a couple more. And they wonder how, but I've been doing it for so long, you know.
Your body's used to it.
Yeah. And again, I don't, overdo it all I'm not downing them. It'd probably take me 2 hours to drink the first beer. And then after that, they maybe go a little bit faster. But in between, again, I stop and eat. I might have a drink. I have to go walk my dog. Also because I am responsible enough. I want to make sure I'm aware of my surroundings, especially living in a homeless area, And I wouldn't want my dog to get hurt because I was too stupid to pay attention and I was too drunk. So I do have that in me. That's why, people refer to that as like functioning alcoholic and whatever. Mm-hmm. I can get important things done. As a matter of fact, for the last year now, well, I've been at the tiny home for a year and a half. But I've had a Section 8 voucher and I finally found a place. By June 1st, I should be moving into an apartment. So the inspection is actually tomorrow.
Will the stability of being housed
It will make a difference.
help you?
I do know that because my husband's homeless right now too. He's just staying in a different place. We only became homeless this time, not even because of my alcohol or whatever. He lost his job because of COVID. Not because he was sick, but because his jobs he was laid off. They were just cutting back. And between his income and my income, we were able to afford a nice 1-bedroom apartment. But suddenly on my Social Security alone, no, this is LA. Here I can't afford the air I breathe. That's pretty much it. That's how sad it is. I don't know how some people survive at all. So that's how we ended up homeless this time. But yeah, the stability of a home will make a difference. Because I do know when we lived together and had an apartment, instead of drinking 211 and Crown Royal and Bacardi and who knows what all day, every day, I would have Coors Light, which is not nearly as strong. And I'll buy a 12-pack and it'll last me for 2-3 days. Versus now where I buy a 12-pack, I have to go and buy more within the same day. So the stresses of being homeless and not having anything to do. With my husband, again, it makes a difference because he does work now. And I'm like the stay-at-home partner. So I do the laundry, the cooking, the cleaning, I do the shopping. I usually manage all our bills. I take care of our insurance stuff, all that stuff. So that gives me things to do. But for the last year and a half now, I've been sitting in a tiny home with nothing to do other than take care of my dog.
And drink.
And drink. So I sit there and drink. And alcohol is not even allowed in, but some of the security knows me so well they don't even bother looking in my bag anymore. Because I don't generally bother anybody. I go in and I sit there and watch TV. Or I do stuff on my phone, watching YouTube stuff mostly all the time, oddly enough, which is funny that I never heard of you before. So actually I would like to know about what your channel is so I can look that up sometime.
Yeah, I'll tell you. But if you had your life to live all over again, what would you have done differently?
To be honest, and it may sound wrong to people, but I would have never come to America. But I didn't have much choice at the time. When we did come, after my dad came back to Germany 12 years later, and my mother married him a second time, I was 14. I could have actually stayed in Germany. I have a lot of family there. Actually, my own father didn't like his American family. I don't talk to any of them here. I know I have a lot of them. Don't like any of them. My father didn't like them. But I have a lot of family and friends in Germany I'm still in touch with, and thank God for the internet. Because I use Facebook Messenger, I can call them for free and actually see them. So I'm in touch with them all the time. There's also a good chance I might be in the closet. I may still, meet up with men here and there every now and then. But I'd probably be married with, instead of just 2 kids, I'd probably have 4. And I would have probably continued going to school, because at one point in my life I wanted to be a veterinarian, because I do love animals a lot. And I actually still talk to my girlfriend from Germany. She lives in Austria now. But she always says, I made some bad decisions, so did you. If one day you end up old and alone and I'm old and alone, just come home. So, which is comforting in a way.
Yeah, it is.
We've known each other since 6th grade. That's a damn long time.
Yeah.
There's people in my life I've known for 40 years. And then again, there's other people that I've known for that long, but we don't really have a relationship anymore. Because the drinking can get in the way of things. It does. You know, I'm generally what they say, a nice drunk. I'm the guy who says, I love you, you know, unless you piss me off, because that can trigger my bipolar mood swings and whatever. And then the next one, I'm ready to go get a knife and I'll kill you, kind of stuff. And I've scared some friends over time, because they've pissed me off and I start yelling and screaming and breaking stuff, and so they'd rather not be around. And I get it, because when I'm sober, I see I know what I did. No one really ever truly blacks out, I think. It might take us a minute and we might need to get some details from people that were around. But somewhere along the way, by the next day when we're sober, we start to put the pieces together and we go, oh shit. Only to go have another drink and do it all over again. So, yeah, if I'd stayed in Germany, I'd have a completely different life. It's just the honest truth. Never mind the fact that even though I'm half American, I've never once felt at home in this country. I just don't. Which is sad.
What's your biggest fear now?
I've lived here longer. I've been in America longer than I've ever lived in Germany. I was 14 when I left Germany, so I've been here for, 32 years? And I still don't feel at home. I've met many beautiful people. I've seen like 26 states, but it's not home. And I think in a large part is difference in culture. And by the time you're 14, you have a pretty good idea of who you are, at least where I came from. I had a plan for my life, and then it suddenly got thrown apart because my dad came back. And my mother said to me, what do you think? Should we go to America? And I said, if you really want to go. Because I'm the first one to admit I'm a mommy's boy. So, and I wasn't about to just let my mother go to America with this man I didn't even really know, even if he is my dad. So,
But your biggest fear at this point in your life in general?
My fear, really being alone. Which I am a lot. So I'm working really hard on excuse me, sorry. That's why I'm looking forward to getting the apartment and my husband being able to move in and getting back to a sense of normalcy.
The companionship can help a lot, right?
Yeah, because especially with his age, there's not really any sexual relationship at this point. In the beginning there was 8 years ago. But now if he feels like it every 2 or 3 months, it's almost a surprise. But again, that doesn't even bother me because we do have that love, you know, and that's important.
Very.
And he knows how to deal with me because he sees how I'm sitting there and I'm drinking, and he doesn't like it. Of course, he doesn't like it. We've had that conversation more than once. But he also knows what triggers me to become an angry drunk, so he just stays out of my way at that point. For example, one of the big things is, don't dare talk to me while I'm watching Jeopardy. I will lose it, especially if I've been drinking. Fucking pisses me off to no end. Especially because I know that alcohol pretty much can kill your brain and whatever. So I've been watching Jeopardy for as long as I can freaking remember. Because if I'm going to start forgetting one thing, at least I'm learning something else, you know. So I actually know a little bit about a lot of stuff. And when I had my business, actually, at one point, that's when Alex was still alive. They were actually short on audience, and I had to supply audience for Jeopardy. Just like Price is Right, when Drew Carey took over, a lot of people just didn't get tickets to the Price is Right. And I had to get an extra policy because CBS was worried if I brought my people on the lot, if something happened, that they would sue CBS. So I had to get another policy just before CBS would even let my people on the lot, $1 million policy, just to make sure if any one of my people got hurt, that I would be covered and that CBS wouldn't have the problem. And then after about a year of that, Drew Carey finally started getting enough people and we stopped working for The Price is Right. But I did a lot of shows like that.
Emotionally, what do you go through? Depression or?
I'm sorry?
Emotionally, what do you go through? Depression, anger, anxiety?
That's where it does happen, you know. And it is depressing when you live like this. I think that's part, again, why the drinking is more out of control than it's normally ever been in my life. Because I'm just sitting there, twiddling my thumbs with nothing to do. It's very depressing. Very depressing. At least now I finally have something to look forward to. After months and months and months of looking for an apartment, because by law they can't turn away someone with a Section 8 voucher. But bet your butt they do. So you have to find just the right landlord, and then if you even learn not to tell them that you have a Section 8 voucher, you get them to show you the empty apartment first. Because then you have proof, so to speak. Because then all they can do is find another reason why they won't take the voucher. And it can't obviously ever be because of the voucher, because of equal housing rights and all that stuff. And then it usually becomes a credit issue or who knows what. Or suddenly the rent is too high and the voucher doesn't cover it. And so after a lot of failed attempts, I finally found a place. It's in a neighborhood I really don't want to be in, but in about a year or two from now, once my credit gets a little bit better again too, because my credit took a big hit. Just as living on Social Security is hard to begin with, but my credit took a hit because I'm suddenly homeless and I'm using credit cards that I can't afford to pay, and my husband was unemployed and we're living off of my income, you know. So once my credit is better, I'll be able to move to a better neighborhood again. Although it's not really that bad. 78th Street in Maine. It's not really that bad of an area. It used to be a lot worse years ago.
For a white guy, it's not.
I should be okay. I don't really think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
It's part of that. They'll look at it like the whole gentrification thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a white gay guy. I'm only going to make the neighborhood better. That's the truth of it. By the time I move out of that apartment, they'll probably be able to charge twice the rent because it'll look 10 times better than it did
That's fine.
when I moved in. And I'm sorry, it's a lousy thing to say, but stereotypes exist for a reason. Bet your ass I will be decorating and painting, and I'll probably reface all the cabinets and all that. And I'm not even going to charge them for it or anything else. I'll just leave it. It'll be an upgrade compared to what they have now.
Johan, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
When I drink, I try to stay away from people because I know it will cause me problems. So pretty much, and my grandmother's advice, which basically translates to as long as you have feet, you better keep walking. So that's really
All right.
the best thing I know. You just don't give up, no matter how sad it gets. Yeah, I may drink all freaking day long, but while I'm drinking all freaking day long, when you see me walking down the street with that Subway cup or Jack in the Box cup or whatever, I ain't drinking soda or tea. I'm still going to do what I need to do, but I'm also drinking my vodka or rum or whatever the hell I'm drinking at that moment, walking right down the street, walking right past you, and you have no freaking idea. Most people look at me, they don't think I'm homeless. You know, they don't see any of that. So yeah, you learn to stay away from people. People will use you, manipulate you when you drink too much and all that. And I'm too old for that. I do want to slow down, but if I ever really truly will, right now my goal is to just get back to where I was before this whole homeless mess happened. And it's the second time I've been homeless. I don't ever want to be homeless again. And the first time around, it was definitely my fault because I was making horrible decisions. Second time, COVID. You know.
All right. Johan, thank you so much for sharing your story.
No problem at all.
I wish you the best
It
of
was
luck.
actually kind of nice, especially if it can help somebody else. And I know there's resources out there, but not everybody can deal with that. Actually, I'll tell you this. I went to an AA meeting once. You know what I felt like when I left? I actually wanted to drink even more. And that's exactly what I did. I went to the nearest liquor store and bought a drink because just sitting in that environment was so depressing and took so much emotion out of you that it actually was draining and I needed a drink. I almost felt like I had to restore myself. So the place that should have helped me actually made me want to drink even more, which is just sad.
All right, Johan.
But that's life.
Thank you very much.
C'est la vie, right?